What's going on with Samsung and Apple's new foldables, and are we actually getting anything meaningful here? What are they going to look like? When are they coming out? And why are they already controversial before they've even been announced? Let's talk about some of the strangest phones we're likely to see in the whole of 2026. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and thanks to OnLeaks, we have an idea about how one of Samsung's 2026 foldables is going to look. This is what some online are dubbing the Samsung Galaxy Xfold Wide, a new entry into the Z Fold line that will, like the name suggests, essentially be a squished and widened version of the Z Fold 8, though with a few potential other changes too. Now, why would you even buy a squarer foldable in the first place? Well, this isn't actually the first time we've seen more of a passport shaped phone. If you remember, BlackBerry made a phone specifically called the Passport, designed to fit the same dimensions. The argument is that a squatter form factor improves usability, particularly where the internal screen is closed, when you're using that external panel to get any more done than just checking notifications. As someone who has used older Z Fold phones, someone who uses the OnePlus Open on a daily basis, I really can understand the appeal. But the Z Fold 8 looks to go further than even that, making a closed form factor that looks even squatter. As a foldable user, I probably spend 85–90% of the time using that external display, and I'll only really open it up and zoom in if I'm genuinely trying to look at something that's bigger. I want to get a better idea in a photograph or something like that. If I'm showing something to friends or family, maybe I'll also use that internal display. But I know a couple of people who absolutely live on the internal screen, and I think the Z Fold 8 Wide is going to cater more towards me than to those people. But the problem is it's already controversial among tech fans and it hasn't even been announced yet. By the way, if you enjoy the content we make here, please do consider hitting to subscribe to help us hit our goal of 500,000. Thank you very much. So there have been some mock-ups, some teasers online of the Z Fold 8 Wide looking smaller than the supposed regular Z Fold 8. So instead of a Z Fold 8 that's been widened, it's more so one that's been squished, providing essentially the same amount of space for a 16:9 content on that inside screen, just with some different sized black bars top and bottom. So this has some fans quite annoyed, as the idea of, say, a Galaxy S26 Ultra that has been opened to reveal a bigger screen is exciting. It's a different kind of form factor to that. That would have more room for activities. No one is really asking for a shorter fold, but instead a wider one. This seems to be the former. The obvious compromise here, based on the OnLeaks images, is the lack of a third camera as well. Presumably that 3x 10 megapixel telephoto is just gone, similar actually to what we had on the S25 Edge. Something that I'm personally not too concerned about, since it's hardly the world's best camera in the first place, but it feels like the Z Fold 8 Wide could be actually more of a step down, compromised model, as opposed to a new, exciting, more useful version. But some believe this form factor was chosen to compete with Apple's rumoured iPhone Ultra, similarly actually to what we had with the aforementioned S25 Edge, of that coming out before the iPhone Air. Of course, this would be Apple's first foldable ever, and knowing Apple, they tend to want to get something bang on, basically perfect, before they deliver and release it, something that's actually been kind of mixed over the last decade. But the tech has matured greatly, and companies like Oppo, Honor, Samsung, they've all made big changes, advancements, improvements in innovation to create foldables that feel light years ahead today than they were when the original Galaxy Fold dropped over 7 years ago now. Can you believe it's already been 7 years ago? It's kind of crazy. Anyway, I digress. Much has been made about the foldable iPhone. Will it be a valid replacement for the iPad mini maybe? How much more expensive will it be than the already pretty pricey 17 Pro Max? Have they been able to successfully iron out that crease on the large internal display? Similarly to the Fold 8 Wide, the iPhone Ultra seems to be sort of that book-style foldable in perhaps a more passport-like form factor. A squashed, wide phone as opposed to the traditional candy bar that we've been used to with older Z Fold models that have admittedly widened themselves in recent iterations, so it seems like Samsung is getting there. A hardware mock-up shown by Max Tech's Vadim Yuriev, I hope I pronounced that correctly, shows an intriguing detail though. The phone, opened up, seems to be not far off the total height of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And compared to the iPad mini, it's actually just a little bit smaller, but importantly, a very similar shape. So this could genuinely be a phone that when closed is, absolutely tiny. We're talking as tall as an iPhone mini, but that opens up to a screen that's almost as big as an iPad mini. Suddenly, the iPhone Ultra is a seriously interesting prospect, and one that I think would really heat up the foldable debate, particularly up against Samsung's Fold 8 Wide. We're getting to a stage now where foldables have matured enough both in hardware and in software for these two phones to have a lot of potential, and actually they could be really rather good. I've had the pleasure of testing out a good few foldables over the last few years from the likes of Samsung, Honor and OnePlus, and Honor has shown some serious intent with pushing hardware including larger camera sensors, silicon carbon batteries that combat that large internal display power draw. We're talking 1,000 or more milliamp hours larger than the traditional batteries you would find in a Samsung, thanks to the use of that more cutting edge silicon carbon tech. Not to mention the super fast charging that goes along with that, because that's always useful. Then there's the IP ratings of late that have made these phones even more durable, which is one of the biggest concerns people have with foldables. Are they going to last? This seems to help that. And the screen creases have minimized to a point now where they have become far less of a concern. I'm not just saying this because they're in the news right now. I daily a foldable, and have done for well over a couple of months now, the OnePlus Open. And all the concerns I've had about foldables have pretty much disappeared. And that's with a 2.5-year-old phone, not the cutting edge by any stretch of the imagination. I have no issues with the hinge, the crease, the battery life, the cameras. Perhaps my biggest gripe with the OnePlus Open is I feel like the displays don't get quite bright enough. That's something that I wish I could fix. Otherwise, even with the sort of pretty limited IPX4 rating and the sub 5,000 mAh battery, I've taken it out in British weather and doom scrolled, and it's been absolutely fine. It's lasted me the full day and it hasn't given up the ghost yet, which makes me enthusiastic about the much newer, much more mature and crucially more dialed models from the likes of a Samsung or an Apple, because they really have potential. Look, whichever way they market the new foldables, they are not going to be cheap. Speculation online points towards iPhone starting at around €2,000 or $2,000. The Galaxy Xfold 8 Wide, probably a very similar price. That makes these some of the most expensive phones you can buy. So we'll really have to see if the two companies can nail the hardware and the software to justify such an eye-watering price tag. The world of foldables is about to get even more competitive, so let's see what happens with that. I want to hear from you in the comments section about these things, because for me there's just something a bit weird about this more book style foldable that's in a passport form factor. It gives you far more usable front display, but simultaneously doesn't provide heaps of actually extra usability on the internal screen for stuff like content consumption. Because of form factors, aspect ratios, how content is delivered, is it really going to make much of a difference? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And whilst you're down there, be sure to like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload on this channel. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I will catch you later. Cheers.